Trial with Audible today.
213. Let's see where we're at. 2, 12. 12 plus $20 of shipping. 10, 14, 11. Maybe we can say 10. But again, keep in mind these are pre-release prices. So we'll say 10. Good night, hoodie. These are pre-release prices, so I expect them to come down pretty soon. And then we also have the Glamora that is 123, which is going 4, 5, 3, 7, 6. Let's say maybe 5. Say maybe 5 for that one. Alright, cloth. Again, keep in mind pre-release prices, they'll probably go down probably by like half. Good night, soccer mom! Thank you so much for joining us. Alright, we got cloth, and that one is 120. 5, 4, 6, 4, so we'll go 5. Alright, Houndoom. on Zoom. 6, 10, 12. $1. Maybe like 8. Should we go 8? Alright, and Palmot. $73. No, no one sold the Palmot. 73. Alright, maybe we check price charting. I don't think it's on here. Nope, it is not. It is in the Japanese special set, but not up on the regular one. So maybe we'll say like 3 or something. Alright, that by itself, that stack by itself was 94 in total. Keep in mind, pre-release price is probably gonna go down by half. So I would probably say closer to 50, but safe to say we are at this current moment over 100. Then we got all of the ones from yesterday. But we took away. Which one did we take away today? It was a Japanese art rare, right? Starly. We took away the Starly. And Japanese Scarlet? No. Thanks for the follow, Omar. Welcome in, welcome in. We're just trying to price out. Oh, here. Japanese Scarlet EX Starly 90. That's $276. So, yesterday's was $37.20. We're doing some math. Oh my gosh, so much math. Also, where did my phone go? Okay, so we're at 94 on that stack. 94 on that stack. 37.20 minus 276. Plus 94. So that includes all of yesterday's except for the ones we added today and except for the Starly. Alright, so these are the ones we added today. The Quaquaval EX. Have a good night, Jelly. 30. Ungraded is 114. And Oranguru. $30. Lightwing, hello, how's it going? That one is 138. Alright. Almost done. And then our donos from Jelly's Scarlet Box. We got the Wiglet. 81. That one is 268. And we have the
round 1.
Great.
Ready, go!
We are trying to add up our 7. 745. 143. We are at 141.07. 141.07. If we end Sunday at 100 or more,
Round
including
2.
the fact that pre-release prices
Ready,
go
go!
down, then we're doing a slap giveaway for all the oh, plus the pin, which is 5. Oh no, we already added it. Alright, here's our big stack of trade up right now. Huge stack. We're at 141.07. Alright, you guys. That's it. That's our stream today. Thank you for joining us. Let's find
Round 3.
Raid.
Ready, go!
Thank you for joining. Ooh, we have Trav, Andy, the Muffin Palace. Let's do the Muffin Palace. I know a lot of us are sleeping, but let's do the Muffin Palace.
Knockout!
Thank you,
Round
thank
4.
you. Thanks for hanging out.
Ready, go!
You start VMAX or 151. In terms of my favorite set, it would go 151. V-Star and V. Oh, but VMAX is really good trainers. I don't know. 151, maybe VMAX and then V-Star. I don't know, but V-Star has better ults. That's tough. I like the trainers a lot from VMAX Climax. That's tough. But
いかがかな?
151 definitely top. Have a good night, Salty. Have a good night, Lightwing. Thank you for hanging out. Please join the raid anyway. And say hi to the Muffin Palace. I know a lot of us are asleep. But yeah. And then I'll probably hop on League now because I have time to do that. Oh, it's 5. Maybe I'll play like 1 game. Just woke up. Good morning, Salty. Alright, have a good one. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Yeah, Enforce. The tournament matchmaking on this game is not that good, man. I joined the tournament, but it kicked me out, man. Good morning to you, M-Force Virus, or good afternoon. I don't think so. I think it's to do with the game itself and how it matches people. Because like sometimes even like there wasn't many people from Europe playing. I mean, what could have happened is just that the game put us into the play with all the other Asian players, or but instead of that it just kicked us out. Just said, oh, we could the tournament couldn't match you up with anybody. So yeah, it's weird. But sometimes when you do enter the tournament, it does match you up with the Asian players if there's not enough European players. So I don't know, man. It's just it's kind of weird, yeah. You spread most matches. How have you been, dude? Oh, that's that's yeah. Rest up, man. Rest up. Take some medicine. On if you're staring at a screen too much, give it a break, man. They should. There's for this game. There's 3 tournaments. There's one in the morning, or one now, one in the evening, and one in very early on Sunday morning. But I think they should add another one. Like have 2 on Sunday. I think. Yeah, yeah. I might play rank match for a bit. We'll see if there's anybody on. I did get this message from somebody in the lobby, man, of the tournament that we got kicked out. This Pumpkin Rose 7887. Grow up, kid. Go get a job. College video games is bullshit. So I replied, bahaha, what's wrong, Pumpkin Rose 7887? Oh yeah? I didn't know you played this game, Enforce. Oh shit.
Knockout.
Oh really? That's cool, man.
Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout. Round 3. Ready, go!
Rage quit! Rage quit, Enforce. Well, that's one for YouTube again. Good stuff. Got lots of videos on YouTube for Virtua Fighter. How's the taste of salt in the morning? Yes, sir. Seems to be a lot of that around, man. I mean, just look at that message I just sent you. I said to you, dude, I was just waiting in the lobby and then I got that message sent to me by Pumpkin Rose 7887. Grow up, kid. Go get a job. College video games is bullshit. What's going on, Pumpkin Rose? What fighting games did you play, man? Or have you played? Oh, look who it is! Pumpkin Rose 7887.
Round 1. Ready, go!
Oh, okay.
Knockout. Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go!
Ah, damn, I should have
Knockout. Round 4. Ready, go!
Oh, it came out the ring.
Round 5. Ready, go!
Nah, yes, yes, yes. Whew, that was close. That was close, man. Dang, that was close,
あ
man.
なたにはクンフーが足りないわ。
Oh, now you want a rematch, yeah? See. After sending me hate mail, you want a rematch, huh? Mm-mm-mm. See if we get any messages from them. Probably quiet now. There's still a bit of training with Pai Chan actually. Still a bit of training, man. See if there's anything else. Oh, that's a pretty good one. Yeah. What fighting games did you used to play, M-Force Virus? Do this one. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, that's it. Oops. There we go. Okay. Hey, that launches them as well. Oh, okay, this is the cancel. Oh, that puts her in that stuff. Oh. Okay. That was our launch as well. pretty good as well. Goku time. Oh, okay. Meshuoho. Oh, it's that. Shouldn't we underscore photos or something? Meshuoho. Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. PPP. Oh, okay. Ah. Okay, you gotta hold it. Okay. Running behind. Oh, okay. Going to your next match? Yeah. I was just doing a little bit of training, man. So when you're gonna jump on this? When you're gonna get this? When you're gonna get some VF5 action going for the M-Force virus, man? When you're gonna start training up, son? Hmm. £20. Shit. Game Boy Advance box only. No game or manual. Infection. Crazy Taxi categorized as manual. And then got it's Raging Mars.
Round one. Ready, go! Knockout! Round two. Ready, go! Ready, go! Knockout! Round 5. Ready, go!
Ah, shit.
Knockout!
Dang, that was close. Should have hit with the kick now, just now.
そのまま床を舐めてな。
Hmm. So the only Crazy Taxi I'm missing is the one on Game Boy Advance. It's quite expensive as well, man, the Crazy Taxi on Game Boy Advance. Crazy Taxi Catch a Ride, Game Boy Advance. Hi, M-Force. Looks like we got the M-Force duo in here, man. M-Force the Master, M-Force Virus. It's double force. Back once again with the Enforce Master. I was supposed to play Tournament, man, but the game kicked me out again. Let's have a look, man. Let's have a look what's going on. Sega Saturn versus the 32X. Sega Lord X, huh?
A surprise to some of you, but Sega's 32X actually It may come as a surprise to some of you, but Sega's 32X actually launched right at the same time as its Saturn. Both were released in November of 1994, with even the US launch of the Saturn coming 6 months later. That essentially means that Sega had two competing 32-bit machines on the market at the exact same time. This is often cited as one of the reasons why Sega had such a hard time during that era. I mean, competing against Sony and Nintendo was bad enough, but then you gave customers a second option against your own mainline machine. This led to Sega's development studios and resources being stretched way too thin, which contributed directly to how ill-prepared they were to support the Saturn in the West. But historical significance...
Oh shit, it's Kung Fu Smoke.
Round one. Ready, go!
I don't know why this dude, he might as well just play against me, but he never wants to play, man.
Round two. Ready, go! Excellent! Round three. Ready, go! Excellent!
You're no match for me.
Aside, what if you were a customer in 1994 and 1995 and saw both these consoles on the shelf? How did they fare against one another? How did the share software turn out between the two? That's the subject of today's video as we go over some of the games that appeared on the Saturn and 32X, compare them a bit, and see just how closely they actually were. Did Sega's 32X offer up a compelling 32-bit experience, or did the Saturn wipe the floor with it to only remind us how bad that two-system strategy actually was? Let's find out.
Hi everyone, I'm Vic.
I'm Lydia. I'm Jen.
We're three data scientists.
We begin our comparisons with the incredible multiplayer basketball release, NBA Jam Tournament Edition. This was originally an arcade game from Midway, ported to just about every console under the sun back in the mid-90s. On the Saturn and 32X, I think they both did a very decent job. While the Saturn is more accurate in terms of overall color, detail, and sound effects, the 32X edition is no slouch, especially when it comes to gameplay. Side by side, the Saturn is clearly prettier, but it isn't night and day, and certainly isn't enough to say the 32X looks bad in comparison. If you were a fan of this in the arcade, I think you were served well with both these releases, though I would like to note that the 32X version was $20 more at retail.
Fantastic! Robinson from long range. Score!
Corpse Killer was among one of the few titles released for the Sega CD 32X combo. It was a full motion video shooter that had you trying to stop a madman and his zombie invasion. The Saturn release was called the Graveyard Edition and had a few extras thrown in, but it was essentially the same game. Most of what you get here is video quality that is surprisingly similar and some differences in heads-up display. Beyond that, the 32X CD holds its own in pretty much every way. I was never a fan of this because it's so incredibly repetitive, but I know
Round one. Ready, go! Knockout! Round two. Ready, go! Knockout! Round three. Ready, go!
some of you really dug its B-movie qualities. Still, it's another one where the 32X version is not outclassed quite as much as you think it might be. Primal Rage is an arcade port that appeared on both the Saturn and 32X. I think here we see perhaps one of the biggest problems with the 32X, its reliance on the Genesis for much of its visual processing. Side by side, you see a notable difference between backgrounds, sprites, animation, and sound quality. While the 32X release is far from terrible, the Saturn port is just so much prettier in pretty much every way. I was never fond of the gameplay of this even in its original form, but I'd say the two are mostly faithful to the arcade moves and the overall feeling of the coin-op original. Of course, it's another one where the 32X release was $20 more than the Saturn version, which was simply unacceptable. The Saturn is the superior release and was cheaper to boot. No contest on this one, Saturn wins it by a mile. Virtua Racing Deluxe on the 32X was perhaps its earliest example that this little add-on had the chops to compete as a real 32-bit alternative. It was much more than a simple arcade port. It featured 2 new tracks, 2 new car types, 2-player split screen, and some new music created just for this version. It was developed internally by Sega and was the reason to own the 32X at launch for me. On the flip side came the Saturn release of Virtua Racing, which was handled by Time Warner and released about a year later. It has a ton more content than the 32X edition. It has 5 additional car types over the original F1 option, as well as 10 total tracks to race on. The Saturn version runs better and has a more robust polygon engine in place for its trackside detail. It's still difficult to call a winner here, however.
Round 1. Ready, go! Excellent! Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go!
Well, it was ridiculous.
They both do things I really appreciate, and I dare say the 32X release is more accurate as far as gameplay is concerned. If you wanted the most bang for your buck, the Saturn was the clear winner with all those extras. But if you wanted the best version of the arcade in terms of feel and gameplay, I think you have to give it to the 32X.
When I was a teenager, I had brackets to straighten my teeth, so it was
WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, was essentially the Mortal Kombat of sports entertainment. Take digitized fighters beating the hell out of one another with exaggerated moves, and you have it in a nutshell. The 2 home ports here are as you'd expect. The Saturn has visuals that are a little more faithful to the arcade source, yet the 32X version doesn't look bad beside it at all. Sound is of course much better on the Saturn, and it appears as though the Saturn has an advantage in animation as well. If you were a fan of this in the arcade, I don't think you can walk away from either version disappointed though. The one area where the 32X took a massive hit was in its original price tag, again coming in at $20 more than the Saturn CD edition. Those larger cart sizes really did hurt when you started buying multiple games. WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, was essentially the Mortal Kombat of sports entertainment. Take digitized fighters beating the hell out of one another with exaggerated moves, and you have it in a nutshell. The two home ports here are as you'd expect. The Saturn has visuals that are a little more faithful to the arcade source, yet the 32X version doesn't look bad beside it at all. Sound is of course much better on the Saturn, and it appears as though the Saturn has an advantage in animation as well. If you were a fan of this in the arcade, I don't think you can walk away from either version disappointed though. The one area where the 32X took a massive hit was in its original price tag, again coming in at $20 more than the Saturn CD edition. Those larger cart sizes really did hurt when you started buying multiple games. Doom on the 32X was my first real experience with Doom, so it will always have a special place with me. That said, it was a rough port thanks to its windowed presentation and the fact so much content was cut to make its release. It's missing so many stages, the bosses, and even the BFG weapon that came to define the title. The Saturn edition comes along and looks better, has most of the content that was cut, and by all rights should have been the vastly superior version. Yet the Saturn runs this game dreadfully. No amount of extra content can make me forgive the horrendous performance that's on display here. Side by side, you can't unsee it. The 32X looks like it's running Doom at 60 frames per second in comparison. The Saturn is so choppy. I wish it weren't so, but I'd much rather play this on the 32X despite its limitations. Afterburner 2, or Afterburner Complete as it was called for the 32X, was sprite scaling done right. It isn't quite as smooth as the arcade original, but you won't
Round one. Ready, go! Knockout!
Well.
Round two. Ready, go! Knockout! Round three. Ready, go! Knockout! Round four. Ready, go! Knockout!
the battlefield, you'd be dead.
Care because it's still so damn good. It was by far the best version of Afterburner any home console had ever seen, and a great argument that Sega should have focused on these types of games for the 32X. When the Saturn version hit the Sega Ages line, it managed to be even better, now just as smooth and as fast as the arcade original. But don't go thinking that just because the Saturn does it a bit better, that it means it crushes the 32X. I mean, you can see here side by side, they both get the job done and are highly admirable ports. You can't go wrong either way. Space Harrier was another Superscalar arcade port that showed up on both the Saturn and 32X. And very much like before, the results are the same. The Saturn edition runs smoother overall, but the 32X holds its own and is a very decent port. It really does make you wonder why Sega didn't push the sprite scaling agenda harder with the 32X. Up until that point, these games needed to be butchered to see a home release, so the 32X was really the first time we saw them anywhere near their original arcade quality. And it's important to note that the Saturn versions of these games didn't show up until about 2 years after the 32X versions. Had Sega a more well-rounded stable of arcade superscalers for the 32X in development, I think it's safe to assume that the little add-on might have had some teeth to it and scored a few more sales. The screens speak for themselves. The Saturn is better here, but the 32X did quite the good job overall.
I have actually been a customer of BetterHelp for a little over 2 years now, and I was able to get matched up with a therapist and
FIFA Soccer 96 is a study in how the extra power of the Saturn made a world of difference in some games. In the comparison here, you can see the Saturn has more sprite detail in the players, more polygon detail in the stadium and field, and a much more appealing sound effects and musical presentation. The Saturn also allows many more camera angles. The 32X is rudimentary in comparison across the board. It's night and day, and unmistakable that the Saturn is the absolute winner here. If there ever was a case of gameplay trumping visuals, it's the port of Mortal Kombat 2 to the Saturn and 32X. There is no question the Saturn slaughters the 32X in terms of visuals. The color, detail, sprite size, and backgrounds are all nearly one-to-one to the arcade on the Saturn, while the 32X sees many concessions in the same areas. But when it comes to gameplay and sound, I'll take the 32X all week long and twice on Sunday. The 32X plays faster and doesn't have any of the micro stutters that riddle the Saturn release. Shang Tsung also doesn't need to load to switch fighters. Perhaps most important of all, the 32X has more voices than the Saturn rendition, which chose to drop or re-record many of the sound samples for some unknown reason. It may have the right look, but the Saturn version has its ass handed to it by the 32X here. It kinda makes you wonder how the Street Fighter Alpha games would have turned out on the 32X.
Round 1, fight. Reptile wins. Fight. Outstanding. Get over here!
There was about 6 months between the two releases of NFL Quarterback Club for the Saturn and 32X. As an NFL fan and sports gamer, I was never big on these titles because they just didn't play all that great. To make matters worse, both these supposedly 32-bit releases don't look much better than the original Genesis edition. You get some more color, animation, and an improved heads-up display, but really, this is far from any sort of real upgrade in either one of them. 16-bit football games have been doing what you are seeing here for years. When looking at these two on their own merits, however, I feel the 32X edition is vastly superior. It runs better, the gameplay is smoother, and the animation doesn't feel janky or jerky. I'd even complain the Saturn image quality is notably worse. The only category the Saturn wins in is sound, which has far more variety and is much clearer. Still, this really shows the garbage state of sports titles for the US Saturn early in its life. When the Saturn launched in Japan, a very rough port of Virtua Fighter was its first killer app. It was a port of the arcade edition that featured flat-shaded polygon fighters duking it out against a single-layer background. The presentation was about as plain and as simple as it came in those early days, but the Saturn still seemed to struggle with it. Polygon glitches would cause things to disappear during the replays, and there was actual polygon drawing on the ring. When Sega ported it to the 32X almost a year later, all of that was cleaned up into one impressive package. It's true, side by side, the Saturn clearly has an advantage in regards to polygon counts on the fighters, and it's overall much closer visually to the arcade, but I'm still really impressed with the 32X all the same. They even managed to get the 32X to do most of the voices, music, and sound effects at a decent level, though the Saturn is still quite a bit better in this regard. Most important is the gameplay, which remains very nice on both versions.
Fight! 1, ready, go!
Comparing Stellar Assault here is a bit unfair because the Saturn version is essentially a full-on remake with a ton of enhancements. This is a space combat game where you must destroy enemies and finish mission objectives in order to move on. The Saturn version has more stages, higher polygon models, a deeper story, and a slew of texture mapped improvements. I honestly don't think there is much here the 32X couldn't have pulled off. It's just that the Saturn version got a much more polished release. Still, the 32X game is a nice look at the kind of software that could have possibly made this a much more attractive platform. It runs great on the 32X, and the gameplay is just as solid. It's also an example of how the cartridge format no doubt restrained content to a degree and held back these types of games from being bigger and better experiences.
I started this journey on my own, but it didn't take me long to meet you guys. And now I found a place where I belong. I found my friends. Yeah! Sure, there's a lot to learn. And sure, some of us might get knocked down a few times. But we get up again. We've got each other's back.
I held back World Series Baseball as a prime example of one of the 32X's biggest issues: Genesis ports. Most of the software developed for the 32X used assets from pre-existing Genesis titles, so you had some games that looked shockingly similar or unimpressive. One of the very best ways to show that is the stunning differences between a game like this on the Saturn and 32X. Sega went the route of essentially upgrading the Genesis version of this game for the latter, and the results are very unimpressive. Pretty much the only things of note here were an added small scaling feature for some of the outfield action, some more color, and a few new sound samples. This sits in stark contrast to a Saturn version that boasts a fully polygonal stadium and much better looking sprites for the players. The CD format of the Saturn release also allowed for great music and a running commentary that was way ahead of the stuff you heard on the cartridge. The Sega 32X was often hamstrung by releases like this that amounted to little more than an afterthought. If Sega couldn't support the 32X with new software beyond simple Genesis ports, they never should have tried it at all.
That ball's driven into the left field corner. The ball rolls to the wall. The throw to home. He's safe. RBI double. Now batting.
Looking at the differences between these games, I can't help but wish that there had been more polygon-based software available. As far as 2D was concerned, the 32X did a fair job, even though most of its offerings were based on Genesis releases. When you look at stuff like Virtua Fighter and Virtua Racing, it really gets you to thinking about how the 32X would have handled more graphically intense ports like Daytona and Virtua Cop. The sad thing is that there were a slew of games in development for the 32X that were cancelled before release that would have been very interesting to compare. Alien Trilogy, Outrun, Rayman, Street Fighter the movie, and a bunch of others would have made for some cool test subjects. Also, as I touched on a few times, many of these 32X versions were very expensive at the time. It was not unusual for 32X titles to retail for $10 to $20 more than your average Saturn release, making this a very bitter pill to swallow for those thinking they had chosen the cheaper route. I believe this to be an often undiscussed impediment to the success of the 32X. When parents saw the price tag of the software, any chance little Johnny or little Susie had of getting one for their Sega Genesis went right out the window. If anything, this comparison illustrates just how poor the two-pronged approach was for a company struggling as mightily as Sega. Much of what had made the Saturn a handful to develop for existed on the 32X as well, only now amplified by the add-on's reliance to the Sega Genesis for visual assets and its expensive cartridges. That gave Sega not one but two difficult 32-bit platforms to develop for, a daunting task for any company. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.
Ever cringe at those tricky game ads? They show you a cool game, but when you download it, surprise, it's a totally different game. Crazy, right? But today
2020年12月かなに行われました。第3回暗黒物質会発射コメントロジックですね。はい、しますは昨日の予選、予選上がってまいりました、キリオン。
Right, I'll finish up in a minute. Let's go raid Nick Bites, man.
これはごまかした。おっと、うまい。いや、今の最速維持は慣れてますね。背後状態になると、ショルダーから大事なが出ないので、それを見越してちゃんと最速維持まで
Go raid Nick Bites.
さあ、さあ、避けて背中掛け。さあ、登山本射脚、投げが入って、ダバンタシパン KK。
Alright, catch you all later.
さあ、上系。3人プッシュバイロック。ジャンプ系。いいですね。2本連はコメトロダイナミックボール、そして、3パンチ。上掛けから、どうでしょうか。出してもらった感じのストレート。ですね。そうですね。仕上がってるな。さっきの大会出てたから、溜まってるな、あれは。
完全に温まってますよね。
一方はキリオンとナキ君は結構相手に付き合わずに自分のペースで戦うことにかけてるんですけども、まさかの一緒にワンサイドをやってしまった。これを見て、さあどのように作戦を変えていくか。GV ハンマー、KG。おー、これはフロントラップがついたり化けてしまったが、結果オーライ。ケイちゃんが見えましたが、お構いなく一緒に抜かれてしまった。またね、コメントローまだ1ラウンドも落としてない JV の可能性を追求し続けた男。33。今年も気持ちよく攻撃スパッシュを狙っております。外、ガード、肘。ゴーキックラー、今度はつなぐ。さあ、このコメトロディフィのフェイバリットは2、トーキックプラスマウンテン。ダメージは110。いいね。強すぎるぞ、これ。なんだこれ。アクリオンが、自分のペースを保てないまま抑えている。敵が入らない。しっかり止める。軽量的、そうですね。プラス2からの肘が割れますが、お構いなし。体力ベースは見ておりません。いいから。大きく。かける2。
Football tomorrow? Where's it off? I don't know what the season is like. Because it's like not football. But the Premiership doesn't start for another 2 weeks. I don't know. Maybe something. I want to buy football. Not that I'm any good, I just like to kick the ball up and down, stuff like that. I'm not sure what this red bit game. Shining Force last night. I was watching that, and then I was watching you play a bit of PUBG. Yeah, I get really poor signal at work, just like I've got like O2 text message